So thanks. Thanks for allowing me the opportunity to speak to you all. It's great to see so many friends in the audience. We talked about TAG and SSA. I want to give Kevin and the SSA board a shout out. We have now 31 different special interest groups. Started with humble beginnings of having 3 groups come together, as Kevin said, SSA, Women in Technology, and BETA, Business and Technology Alliance. If anybody's tried to pull off a merger of for-profit companies, if you think that's hard, 3 organizations that are nonprofit coming together to form one is probably even more difficult. So they had something in mind at that time to make Georgia a leading technology state, and we've come a long way in that period of time. Kevin referenced fintech as being one of the where Georgia leads industries. We've actually identified 7 industries where we have a leadership position, including health IT, logistics technology, information security, as we talked about, fintech, interactive marketing is another one, mission critical facilities or data centers are another one. So we have a number of areas we're in the top 5. When you put it all together, now we have 253,000 technologists in the state, which makes us actually number 9 in the nation. Today I had the privilege of going down to Fort Gordon. Some of the companies here were there because the military has 1,800 people transitioning out that have a technology background. So we said, well, we have 4,000 jobs open right now in the state of Georgia for technology or more, and we can't fill them. And some of you may be having those challenges as well. So it was great to pull together 20 of our leading technology companies with, I think about 300 military came in. I had one company that came up to me about halfway through the program. They said, we've already found 30 to 40 people that we could hire today. So TAG's certainly broadened its base from the days where we were just the leading organization and network. We still believe in that. It's still an important part of what we do, but we're so much more than that now. We're really a leading economic development engine. And I have the privilege of chairing what's called TECNA, or Technology Councils of North America, where there's 50 organizations somewhat like us in the U.S. and Canada. And what we learned when we went there to Seattle a few weeks ago is that the TAG, the Technology Association of Georgia, is now the largest trade association in North America for technology with over 18,000 members. So you're all part of that. And we appreciate your involvement and your leadership in that effort. It does take the team to make this happen, to make this work. So I'm going to talk a little bit about financial technologies for the most part and weave in some software. So Atlanta has a history of firsts in the technology industry, including being the home for the world's first internet bank, Security First Network Bank. The bank was founded by 2 of Atlanta's earliest software security developers. Most of you know at least one of these names, Michael McChesney and James Chip Mahan III. And since then, Georgia's become one of the top 3 states in the nation for fintech. In fact, more than 75% of the credit card transactions in the world are processed through companies that are located right here in Georgia. 75%. So a little bit more about what that looks like. Today, Georgia is home for more than 93 fintech companies. And these companies generate more than $34 billion in revenue every year. And one of the things that TAG did this past year is we did an economic impact study on technology. And the reason we did that is more for government facing, if you will. We wanted to let the governor know that technology actually represents 17% of the GDP for the state. 17%, or $113 billion. So we talk a lot about agriculture and forestry and the bio industry, but when you look at technology, it's a major player, and we're going to keep giving that message to the state government so that as they look at their limited resources, we need to get more put over into the technology side. Georgia's fintech companies employ more than 40,000 workers. The relocation of major fintech companies include NCR and First Data is with us tonight, and they've generated close to 3,000 jobs since 2008. So how do we stack up? We already mentioned this. So Georgia is in the one of the top locations for fintech, as I said, but more importantly, 8 of the top 10 fintech companies in the United States are located in Georgia. And we're attracting more all the time. There's a company called Square, which recently announced plans to open an engineering operation here in Atlanta. And Q2E Banking recently opened an office here and announced plans to hire up to 200 people. And we're finding companies all the time, small companies, some of the entrepreneurial companies that are focused on the area of fintech that either are locating here or expanding here. A little bit about software in Georgia, because it's the Southeastern Software Association, so even though we're emphasizing fintech, there are a number of software. Obviously, software is a leading area. Georgia has a long history of being a hub in software, including companies such as Peachtree Software, American Software, and TCS Software, which all started in the 70s. And today, software and IT services represent the largest percentage of tech companies in Georgia. And that also reflects and translates into the investment side, venture capital side as well, where most of the venture capital money in Georgia, which is about $350,000 a year, which unfortunately is only about 1.2% of the total venture investment in the U.S. I was just reading, I think it was in the Business Chronicle a couple days ago, that in California, their last quarter was over $1 billion in investment. So we have a ways to go in that regard, but I think we're doing fine. And things like Venture Atlanta, where we're bringing in 100 VCs from around the country, is really an important piece. Georgia's ranked actually 5th in the nation in software, according to our records. Probably if you take all the Southeast, it's number 2, as Kevin said. And so this sector saw a growth of 290 establishments just in 2011, just in the area of software. So we're continuing to grow. We're well positioned for that. Why companies like it here? One of the reasons are these strong clusters and the abundance of talent in these sectors. Georgia also ranks 5th in the nation in internet, telecom services, and some of the other areas that I mentioned. And then, of course, people know here that you have the airport, which is very important. You have the port. You have a lower cost of living. And we actually do have a very friendly legislation in respect to some of the other things that are happening around the country. In fact, I wonder why California is growing as fast as it is in terms of technology, but that is where the money stands today. There's a lot of potential for growth moving forward, and a lot of it revolves around these clusters. We talked about the clusters, but Michael Porter, most of you know that name, has done a lot of studies on clusters, and the more you can develop around these cluster areas, the more potential there is, because there's skilled employees, there's specialized suppliers, there's related industries, there's sophisticated buyers, and even the intense local competition creates more activities here in those cluster areas. Going back to the government, what we try to say is, rather than kind of boil the ocean, why don't you focus more of the money on industries where we lead, because that's where we have the most potential, and clusters mean more resources, which can ultimately lead to more innovation and certainly more jobs. So tonight we're pleased to recognize innovation occurring right here in Georgia through the SSA Awards. Congratulations on this being your 3rd year. Each year we grow. And congratulations to all the finalists, and thanks again to all the sponsors. We can't do it without you. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.